Dog Trouble is a really interesting Tom and Jerry cartoon. This is a 1942 cartoon, directed, of course, by Hanna and Joseph Barbera, with a story by Cal Howard. And in this one, Tom and Jerry actually have to work together because Spike is after both of them. And what's really interesting is that I'm used to Spike being on Jerry's side. Not all of the time, but a lot of the time Spike favors Jerry and they work together against Tom. So to have Spike turning on both of them is very interesting. And we see Tom and Jerry having to work together to kind of overthrow Spike. But will they be able to set aside their differences long enough to get through this difficult situation? I'm not going to say any more than that, of course, but I really enjoyed it. There were a few moments that stood out to me in particular. First of all, when Spike was going after Jerry, when Jerry was, I believe, climbing up a cuckoo clock. I thought that was particularly interesting and very different because, as I said, I'm not really used to Spike being that negative towards Jerry. And Tom also looked adorable when he was hanging from a lampshade. There's just something about the way he was animated. He looked almost like a cute little kitten, and I felt sorry for him, which very rarely happens with Tom and Jerry. I'm not the biggest fan of hearing Jerry whisper. I just prefer them when they're silent characters. They do occasionally speak or whisper or, talk in hushed tones, and it's not that jarring, but it is, something that I'm not the biggest fan of. But generally, I thought Dog Trouble was a really interesting animation. It worked very well. The dynamic between Tom and Jerry was definitely very fresh and interesting. It's not my favourite, and it's not my favourite portrayal of Spike as a character either. I prefer it when Spike is a lot more friendly and approachable. But, on its own, with these characters and these attitudes, it works well. Dog Trouble is, of course, one that I am happy to recommend.